Had he swallowed them? If so, they were beyond her reach and all she could do was pray they wouldn't be discovered if someone, she didn't know who, had enough questions to order an autopsy. Meanwhile, time was passing. She hurried through the breezeway and into the garage, not quite running. She crawled under the work table, opened his special hiding place, and stowed away the blood-streaked plastic bag with the dishwiper inside. She closed the hidey hole, put the carton of old catalogs in front of it, then went back into the house. She put the flashlight where it belonged. She picked up the phone, realized she had stopped crying, and put it back into its cradle. She went through the living room and looked at him. She thought about the roses, but that didn't work. It's roses, not patriotism, that are the last resort of a scoundrel, she thought, and was shocked to hear herself laugh. Then she thought of Donnie and Petra, who had both idolized their father, and that did the trick. Weeping, she went back to the kitchen phone and punched in 911. Hello, my name is Darcelyn Anderson, and I need an ambulance at. Slow down a little, ma'am, the dispatcher said. I'm having trouble understanding you. Good, Darcy thought. She cleared her throat. Is this better? Can you understand me? Yes, ma'am, I can now. Just take it easy. You said you needed an ambulance? Yes, at 24 Sugar Mill Lane. Are you hurt, Mrs. Anderson? Not me, my husband. He fell down the stairs. He might only be unconscious, but I think he's dead. The dispatcher said she would send an ambulance immediately. Darcy surmised she'd also send a Yarmouth police car. A state police car as well, if one were currently in the area. She hoped there wasn't. She went back into the front hall and sat on the bench there, but not for long. It was his eyes, looking at her. Accusing her. She took his sport coat, wrapped it around herself, and went out on the front walk to wait for the ambulance. 17. The policeman who took her statement was Harold Shrewsbury, a local. Darcy didn't know him, but did know his wife. As it happened, Arlene Shrewsbury was a knitting canute. He talked to her in the kitchen while the EMTs first examined Bob's body and then took it away, not knowing there was another corpse inside him. A fellow who had been much more dangerous than Robert Anderson, CPA. Would you like coffee, Officer Shrewsbury? It's no trouble. He looked at her trembling hands and said he would be very happy to make it for both of them. I'm very handy in the kitchen. Arlene has never mentioned that, she said as he got up. He left his notebook open on the kitchen table. So far he had written nothing in it but her name, Bob's name, their address, and their telephone number. She took that as a good sign. No, she likes to hide my light under a bushel, he said. Mrs. Anderson, Darcy, I'm very sorry for your loss, and I'm sure Arlene would say the same. Darcy began to cry again. Officer Shrewsbury tore a handful of paper towels off the roll and gave them to her. Sturdier than Kleenex. You have experience with this, she said. He checked the bun, saw it was loaded, and flipped it on. More than I'd like. He came back and sat down. Can you tell me what happened? Do you feel up to that? She told him about Bob finding the double-date penny in his change from Subway, and how excited he'd been. About their celebratory dinner at Pearl of the Shore, and how he'd drunk too much. How he'd been clowning around. She mentioned the comic British salute he'd given when she asked for a glass of Perrier and lime. How he'd come up the stairs holding the glass high, like a waiter. How he was almost to the landing when he slipped. She even told about how she'd almost slipped herself, on one of the spilled ice cubes, while rushing down to him. Officer Shrewsbury jotted something in his notebook, snapped it closed, then looked at her levelly. Okay. I want you to come with me. Get your coat. What?